Hello everyone, we are back and very sorry for the inconvenience. So there is some technical issue, which is why we were not able to go live. I can actually go live, but the only problem is that I will not be able to invite my presenter here, my colleague Hasan Adil, who I really wanted to invite to share his views and to know the people. Okay, so now people are joining us again. So we have done some to solve this issue, the technical issue, that now me and Hasan Adil are communicating on Zoom meetings, and we are recording that, and on the same time we are displaying it on the Facebook. Okay, so Hasan is here. You must have seen his introduction. I have shared his profile. So how about Hasan, you say good morning to the viewers and tell a little background about yourself so they know that who they are listening to today.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone, and apologies for all the delay. You can actually blame me for that because it's sort of a workaround we've got in place, but I think it's going to work for now. And I promise that going forward, if we continue to have more sessions, it'll be a major improvement from this one. But yeah, I also want to thank you as well. This is actually probably my first ever experience in terms of, sharing or having the opportunity to share my experience with a group of people that you've sort of gathered. And hopefully through this conversation, through this discourse, some people can benefit and we can learn. I'm hoping that, it's a collaborative session and it's not like I'm the only one who's saying it all and try to, sound like a person of wisdom, but I'm hoping that I also can gauge and learn from, I'm sure there will be participants with their experiences as well.
Yes, definitely. We will be taking some questions during the session as well. So if you have any questions, we will start the discussion from the PMP, the project management roadmap, how to enter and what are the ways. And then we will advance our discussion and we'll move towards the technical side, the practical implementation, and the key areas where you should be concentrating to be successful and successfully implementing all those learning in the practical life. But yes, Hasan, you will be the major person who will be speaking. So today I'm not the teacher. And so get ready for that because we really want to know the practical and technical insight from the business. So, but from the very foundation level, for the people who don't know what project management is, in which industries they can find project management, where are the scopes, and how to enter in this industry. Could you please just start elaborating on these few
perhaps
points?
I can start off with sharing a little bit of my experience. I know you shared that in my profile, but just to sort of set the perspective and context, I graduated from York University as in financial economics and business, and I work in IT domain as a project manager. So that tells you something that you don't necessarily have to have a particular discipline. I think it comes down to passion. It comes down to what you really want to do, because you could always learn set. Just at the end of the day, I was someone who just, despite of having an undergrad in financial economics, didn't see myself doing financial or statistical analysis. I had a friend who introduced me to business analysis, and that sort of was intriguing because for someone who wanted to pursue analytics, having the opportunity to do gap analysis, basically learning the as a state, and then try to help business to determine the to be state. I started off with that, and over a period of time had the opportunity to work as a team lead, gradually transition into project management, account delivery, and my current role is of a work stream lead, which is essentially responsible for delivering the deliverables. So the point of all of this is there's a concept or a myth that you have to have some sort of a technical level of expertise to be able to thrive in project management, and to an extent it is true, but that's not necessarily always a prerequisite to begin with. It's more about learning the foundations of project management, and I think the course that you teach in your institution, it's extremely useful to sort of laying out the foundation that over it you can build technical skill set to really have a success. And that's one of the things that I would recommend, and certainly from my experience, what I've been able to learn, was able to combine my actual industry experience with the knowledge base that I built through the training that I received in your institution. So that was good.
Okay. So you know what the interesting thing what I found in yourself, and this is why what I wanted you specifically to come and talk about it, because we always think that, you know, for the project management, you have that particular background, and specifically for the IT. That was a news for me myself as well, because I used to think that you should and you need to have a IT technical background, otherwise you cannot enter and you cannot become in project management, the PM or any other enter in those areas in the IT industry. So that is something very different I found in your experience. So because project management is something which is like, you can find projects in all the industries, right? But I was not aware of that, you know, without having a technical background, you can enter. So can you share any experience that, you know, what initial difficulties you have faced? Maybe you were not like you felt in the very initial stages that I should have some technical background, or it was just very smooth ride learning throughout your career.
Absolutely. So within an IT sort of domain, there are different aspects of project management, different types of roles, and they're not necessarily all always technical. The ability to be able to manage projects, and obviously stems from that is the product as well. At the end of the day, you're delivering a product, but if the project management, if a project manager lacks the ability to manage project and project quality, it wouldn't work. It just doesn't work. So you'll have project managers who would have very strong functional backgrounds. You know, they understand business side of things, and they're able to then relate and connect, collaborate with the technical teams, IT teams, to make it a success. At the end of the day, a good project manager, you know, it's someone who engages stakeholders and make it a collaborative effort. Now, obviously, there are roles that require, you know, strong technical skill set. You know, maybe domain subject matter expertise, and those are areas where yes, you need to develop a certain level of expertise, knowledge base, experience to be able to really perform at your job. But like I said, those are not only the roles. You can, as someone who's you know, aspires to become a project manager, and IT is one industry that's thriving, you can explore many avenues and look for opportunities where you can maybe grab a functional role, whereby you're working closely with the business, trying to understand the business processes, help them to map you know, their as-is versus to-be state, and then you're able to then translate into functional and technical specs, again, working through your business analysts to getting a product delivered. Mm-hmm. And that's essentially, it's been my experience. That's how I started off with. In fact, I was discouraged to becoming technical by my mentor, because he said, well, you will lack your creative quality, because often when you become too solution oriented, any creative idea you may have, you would compromise on it because you don't see it as a practical implementation, or from the practical implementations perspective, you'll compromise. But then over the years, having sort of worked with the technical folks and sort of getting a little bit hands-on, I was able to build on that skill set to the point where I can now communicate with different types of stakeholders. But at the end of the day, my core job is to manage a project, to ensure the product is delivered based on the again, depending on the priority, and we can probably talk a little bit more about it in projects. You'd have to really work it through to understand if the scope is a priority, or timeline is a priority, quality, whatever is the priority set by the project sponsor, the core team. My job is to deliver based on that.
Oh, that's really interesting. And we have discussed, and you gave me some points about and the importance of the leadership style, and how the combination can make it perfect, right? So share your views about that.
I can talk a little bit about it. So in my experience, I've come across project managers, team leads, and leaders. And I've seen a clear distinction between all those three. I've seen, and I believe that a good leader is also a good project manager, but a project manager may not necessarily be a good leader. And there's the difference behind that. A good project manager is someone who I believe it's basically ability to create solutions. It's ability to create enabling environment to allow your resources to do their job. I've seen often project managers that, when they come up with a project plan, often they don't even come up with a project plan. So they will have a work breakdown structure that based on that, they will have some activities defined, sequence them, add it to the backlog, and start chasing fires. A good project manager would be someone who would put together a good plan, a realistic plan, and also ensure that it has the feedback, the input of the key stakeholders that is going to help make that project a success. And once you have a plan in place, then you'll just need to ensure that you create that enabling environment to allow your resources to really perform and encourage them. Don't create panic, create solutions. Work with different stakeholders, understand and recognize different personalities. Don't make it an ego issue. Don't make it you really have to really work it through your people's soft skills, your engagement, ability to engage different stakeholders. Often you'll find that maybe the communication aspect of it's very difficult, but that resource is valuable to your cause, to your project, to your deliverable. So you cannot discount because you have difficulty communicating. Figure out a way, find a way. Don't marginalize your good resources. Engage them, involve them, give them the recognition when they perform.
You're freezing.
Financial incentives. Maybe they're looking for some, performance recognition, or maybe a bigger or better role. And you'll have to evaluate. You'll have to sort of work it through the lines and understand and create incentives for them. And only a good leader would do that. When it comes to taking the heat, again, I've seen team leads and project managers, in my experience, that wouldn't necessarily take the ownership and put their team under the bus when things get hotter. That's where a good leader would just sort of step up and protect the team. At the end of the day, yes, you would want your team to be accountable, but not against, a client or, a stakeholder, a business stakeholder. You'll need to step up and really protect the team so that they can focus on getting the job done, and you stay on top, ensuring that the project stays on track.
So basically here, what I'm feeling, that the essence and the summary of what we have discussed right now is that because some people might not be able to understand all those technical terms we are discussing, because if they do not have the project management background, that what the stakeholders are when we are talking about those things. The major key to handle a project, to become a good leader or to become a good project manager, or any individual in a professional world, you need to work on your soft skills, your interpersonal skills, right? So it's not only about one or two things, but your communication, your negotiation, your motivation, your leadership skills, that how you can, your mentoring skills, right? So how you can people coming along with you with your decisions, and how improve their performances. So basically handle the people and the that is something that which is where most of the project managers face challenge, is it?
Absolutely, and I agree with you. I think one aspect that I didn't cover, which is a good project manager wouldn't be one dimensional, would have many dimensions to it. You wouldn't necessarily have one particular would have a combination of different leaders and use them appropriately. So for example, often a project manager needs to be authoritative. You'd have maybe a session where you'd have different stakeholders and there's a lot of back and forth and no one's coming to an agreement or conclusion or a decision to move forward. And that's where a project manager needs to really put his foot down or her foot down and say, guys, this is the decision. I'll take the ownership, log in the decision log, move on. Because if a project manager doesn't really put his or her foot down, and the activity path, then it's going to have an impact on the timelines. You're not making any progress. But then often, a project manager could be democratic. So you'll have maybe a session again with your stakeholders, your team of business analysts and QAs, and they're coming up with very good ideas. All of them appropriate, correct, logically makes sense. Now, if you go about picking one and dismissing, maybe out of two others, it may have some sort of an effect or impact. So perhaps that's where you could really exercise your democratic skills and say, hey, I love all of the ideas. Let's go by the vote of count. And then sometimes you can just really, take a back seat and be a little bit more pessimistic, where you don't necessarily have domain knowledge or expertise, and you have someone who, is a strong technical lead in your team, who's proposing a solution, and you're just there to support and provide the necessary backup, so that, you can move forward. So really, the point is a good project manager will assess his or her situation, circumstances, and adapt accordingly, come up with appropriate leadership approaches to getting the job done.
Okay, so that's really nice. Okay, so this is all about that once you become a project manager and you are handling the projects and you're dealing with the situations. So how you will use your leadership skills and which leadership style is suitable for what kind of the situation. Because basically we say nowadays that there is no one ideal leadership style. It totally depends on the situation you are in, right?
It's a combination of, a good project manager, a leader would have combination of styles incorporated into, and again, it all comes down to, like, just depending on the situation, because again, no project is one dimensional. So you'll just have to incorporate, many different aspects of the project and then adapt accordingly.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so for the roadmap, that for any individual, it doesn't matter, because we don't want to be industry specific, because we know that this is not an education or the area which is industry specific. It is implementable like in all the industries, right? So so what about the roadmap? Do you want to share about it, or do you want me to go with that?
I can add to yours. I'm sure you'd have some interesting inputs, insights into that. Okay. Go ahead, and I can maybe add to it with my experience.
Okay, so because not only from the experience perspective, but how people can enter in this field, because some of the people who don't know, have no idea that, what project management is, they have never an experiences. So for all those viewers who don't know that, how to enter it, if you do not have any project management experience, but you are high school graduate, then you need you can go for the first level exam, which is CAPM, Certified Associate of Project Manager. A person who has some experience, let's say 7,500 hours of experience if you are a high school graduate, or you have an experience of 4,500 hours if you are university graduate. So if you have that experience in the project management field, then you can go for the PMP exam, which is a higher designation for the project management. Project Management Institute is the organization, the institute which is the higher authority and certifying body for the PMP. So those who do not have the experience, they still can enter for the CAPM through the CAPM exam, and they can get the initial opportunities. What would you suggest, like what your experience is, that the difference in between, let's say that a person who do not have that experience and he has a CAPM, and a person who has the experience and he go for the PMP exam, what are the job opportunities available for them after those certifications or in the project management area?
Yeah, so there's now I think there's a recognition and across many different industries to now really establish best practices in workplaces. So they're looking for individuals with certifications who've learned best practices, so that, things could be a lot more, things could be up to industry standard, like I said. There's plenty of opportunities. I remember when I was initially exploring, or had started to explore for project manager's role, there wouldn't necessarily be, any particular requirement, qualification, or desired, requirement to having a PMP certification. But now I'm seeing that often in any project manager's role, they either require project management PMP certification or the other certifications, or it's something that's sort of nice to have. It only helps with your job file. In terms of experience, again, it's an amazing role, by the way, because you get to learn, because you stay at a higher level and manage teams and different components of the project. You're sort of soaking, through different components of the project, a lot of knowledge, and at the same time, you sort of build on the ability to deliver either a product or service, whatever it may be. And because you're the core person who's responsible for the planning of it, you're the key person. Everybody turns to you. So you'd always see people chasing you. You'd always be, very popular in the workplace. Obviously, it has its
pros and cons.
It comes with the price as well.
Exactly.
Comes with the price. You got to take the heat, but at the same time, the importance in any project a project manager plays, it's something that it's invaluable. So if you could if you have good sort of your technical subject matter expertise, or your whatever discipline you're in, and if you can combine it with the industry best practices, that is, receiving formal training, education, and I recommend your institution for that, because you cover not just what's out there in the pinball guide, but what it takes to go out there and really perform and do really well at the job. So if you could combine, like I said, your experiences, your past experiences, with formal knowledge of the best practices, it only equips you to do really well. And obviously, with certification, it helps with the pay grade as well. It's an instant increment right away. A project manager who may be making, let's say, anywhere between a scale of 70 to 90, soon as he or she acquires a PMP certification as opposed to your pay grade, you will right away go above 90K pay scale grade. So, and it doesn't really take a lot in terms of time. It's more sort of you devoting and recognizing that if there's a bit of a gap that you could fill in, and then she could really take the best practices and implement it in your workplace, you'll start to see the results. You'll start to see a project getting a lot more smoother, communication, risk management, stakeholder engagement, different components of the project, the knowledge areas that we discussed. It only helps make it better. So I personally highly recommend that. And I know that even my colleagues who've had 15 plus years of experience managing projects are realizing the value of having PMP certification and are looking to getting that certification. Not that they need it because, you'd think that they would have all the industry experience and the knowledge base, but they recognize that industry is moving towards it, and they should really sort of.
Oh, it got paused. Okay. So, okay, with that, I have one more question for you. That I'm feeling that we are too much concentrating on the waterfall method, but we haven't given much attention on the agile. But usually, okay, what your experience is, because I know that you have been into different industries and different organizations and different countries as well. So what you have seen in these industries, like most of the time it is more towards the waterfall or agile, because I would like our audience to also hear about the Agile methodology, right? So what are the certifications available in those areas, and anyone can do those certifications or not, because the Scrum Master, Agile certification, product owner, right? So these are the roles as well. So but still I see that, these roles do exist, but we do see those roles specifically or particularly which are pure Agile organizations. Otherwise we usually, even in the IT industry, we hear IT project manager, right? So what do you see that in demand from the employers? Is it PMP or waterfall, or they are more towards the Agile, or it's a hybrid? Like what your practical experience is?
I think it's mostly hybrid. No one particular project is strictly waterfall or agile. It's a combination of both. Obviously, some projects may be slightly tilted more towards agile because you want more flexible, quicker implementation without having to spend a lot of time in just ironing out the requirements. But at the same time, there are benefits of agile, methodology and aspects of agile that could really add value and especially to the quality of the project. In terms of what's required, what's expected, I think now with the current PMP course, it covers both the aspects. I think previous discourses have been more towards waterfall, but now it covers really well in terms of the agile methodology. And really, essentially, what it is just iterative approach, incremental iterative approach. It's a life cycle, but it allows flexibility, like I said, to business, so that they can continue to improve and modify all these different terminologies that are used to getting a product, because no one's strictly truly sure at the beginning exactly what they're looking for business. They would have a vision to start off with, and based on their current state of either the product or the process, they're looking to improve. But what form or shape it should take, the eventual gradual form shape, you'll only learn through process. But at the same time, like I said, there are aspects of the waterfall methodology. For example, the requirement solicitation, and really ironing out, having clarity, sort of eliminating ambiguity. Those are still essential because you don't want to have lots of iteration or iterative changes, because it really kills a project and effort that's taken to getting anything ready. You still want to have your iteration paths locked. You don't want to change or have that many changes in your sprints. You do not want to have changes or change requests incorporated without change control board. So in terms of, again, the layout, the processes that should be in place, and again, industries recognize to have best practices and these processes clearly laid out and established, so that they can avoid, roller coaster rides, at least as far as the processes. Products, again, the expectation is eventually you'd come to you deliver a product that really, complements or provides what the business is looking for, the overall improvement, the overall efficiency, the optimization of their processes. And it's not recognized, like I said at the beginning. It's through the journey, it's through the process that you get to that product. But the processes, again, that should be clearly laid out at the beginning, and that should be established. And a good project manager will ensure that, all the stakeholders, the project, stay on track. If the train is sort of sidetracking, then you'll just start basically raising flags or go up the roof and start, yelling fire, and then put everyone back on track.
Okay, so thank you very much. It is a lot of information about that, how you can improve your project and successfully complete it, and what is required in the industry. Okay, in a very layman language, without using any technical terminologies, for any individual who has no idea that what this field is and what we are talking about, iterations and sprints and the requirements gathering. So these all are technical terms, and about project management, Scrum, Agile, PMP. If you have more questions, please do share your queries. We will try to our best to answer all your queries after the discussion as well. You can leave the comment and we'll get back to you. But as a in a very layman language, as an individual who is starting this career, who wants to move towards it, any suggestion which you want to give, which you have learned throughout your career, that these are 3 personal traits, or these are 4 or 5 personal traits which an individual should have when they are starting their journey or the career, and how which can help them throughout their career to reach those heights, like quickly shrink the time.
Right. So well, if you have to really condense it into 3 main qualities, I think the most important quality, and they're all tied to being a good leader, is first, understand that no project is perfect, and understand that you won't always get the best resources or the resources you think are needed to deliver. So no project is perfect, meaning you will have to come up with solutions, often on the fly all the time, but be prepared as much as your planning is, as much as you work on your planning. Be open to the idea of maybe, for lack of a better word, shift. Maybe shift is not the right word, but modify. So that's one. 2, soft skills. The most important aspect that will probably stay true throughout the project is managing stakeholders. You may have the best, you may have the most realistic, or actually, let me put it another way. Your project may be over-ambitious. Your project may have unrealistic goals or timelines. But if you can get the team and work with them to they will do miracles for you. So look after your team, look after your stakeholders, help establish good collaborative, strong communication so that they make it a success. They'll make it a success. It's never going to be your success. It'll be a collective success. You'll be sort of a glue that will be holding all the pieces together. But again, it comes down to managing your stakeholders, your team, your business, everyone involved in the project. Third, last but not least, learn industry's best practices. And for that, I recommend getting the PMP certification, because you'll find that now we've used technical terminologies. There's a vast recognition of having best practices in place. Many of the industries, especially reinsurance, finance, they're coming out of their legacy systems, moving to the latest and greatest in terms of product, but they also want to have the processes in place which can cater to the technology now that they're implementing within their domains. And they could only do it with, like I said, with an approach that's recognized, that's based on best practices. And for that, get your certification, learn, and then implement. And then share your knowledge. Once you've learned anything, share it. Help your team to grow as well. If you're making progress in your career, you're making strides in your career, ensure that your team is also moving along with you. Because if you've reached a certain point, but your team has stayed that level, it's going to pull you down really hard. So develop a knowledge base and have a knowledge base pool that everyone can benefit from. And it's not just product, but also project related as well. Mm-hmm. Ensure that you have appropriate and sufficient project documents in place, a good project plan to begin with, and that essentially is your reference point to everything. You don't want, a new onboard, resource to come to you and say, hey, I don't know what we're doing. Well, you can point to that knowledge base that you developed and say, go and fill it up, but any gaps I can cover. And I know I have a tendency to ramble, so I'm going to cut it out and I'm going to let you ask any more questions you have.
Okay. Yes. So I will quickly like to conclude the session and just wrap it up. So for that, I would just to summarize that, the whole discussion is the first thing is that if you are not in the project management area, but this is the field which you want to choose and you want to learn about, then there is no hurdle you can enter. It's not necessary that you have years and years of experience. Everyone starts from some place, right? All the professionals, all the individuals always start from some place. So do not get scared of taking the first step. For the project management, your first step could be CAPM if you do not have the experience. If you have the experience in the project management field, then you can directly go for the PMP certification. This is one thing. Once you become a project manager and you enter in this field, it doesn't matter you are which industry. One more myth which we just found out, that yes, it's not necessary that you should have the IT technical knowledge, information, or the education to enter and become an IT project manager, because project management, you always work with your SMEs, you always work with your SMEs, your subject matter experts, your business analyst, BAs. So they help you in a lot of things, and they in all the industries and all the companies do support this concept. So you will be able to find all the technical people and team to support you in your project. This is one thing. So once you become a project manager, the most important thing is that your leadership skills, your interpersonals and soft skills, because and your leadership, when we are talking about the leadership skills, it is not any particular style that democratic style is very good and autocratic or dictatorship is very bad. It's totally depend on the situation. So these days we say that there is no one ideal leadership style. It totally depends on the situation, on the basis of the situation where you are and how you are handling the project and the team and the deadlines and your constraints. According to that, you decide, and then you move on with the decision and you implement your leadership style. With your own progress, with your own projects, deliverables, and when you are progressing and improving, you have to, and this is what we have understood, what Hasan wanted to say and shared the views with us, that it is important that along with you and your growth, you grow your team as well, right? So once they realize that yes, our project managers, our organization is investing in us, they are taking interest and they're mentoring and they're making our life easy, they will be motivated. Once they are motivated, they will dedicatedly work with the project, because they will own the company the way company and the project manager is owning them, right? So it is a two-way traffic. So you need to be very careful about when you are dealing with your stakeholders, your emotional intelligence, your all these factors are very, very important. The conflict management, motivational skills. Yes, so these are a few things which we wanted to discuss and we have discussed. Hasan, please correct me if I'm missing anything and you want to give any conclusion remark, a short one.
No, that was precisely what I wanted to say, and you put an excellent summary. Thank you for that. One thing I'll just say in terms of anyone who's wanting to become a project manager and is just looking to start, I'd recommend two roles to look into. If you can't really, maybe get a role of a project manager right away, see to it if you can maybe explore either a role of a business analyst or a project coordinator. Those two roles will give you opportunity to really grasp exactly, because a business analyst is someone who is a liaison between business and IT. So eventually, if you could transition from a business analyst to a team lead, you will essentially be acting as a coordinator in some aspect, and that will basically be a stepping stone to what a project manager would do. And the same is true for a role of a project coordinator, because a project coordinator is essentially doing all the bulk of work for a project manager. And a project manager looks to delegate the work packages through the coordinator. So once you're tracking And just look to explore those two roles, and you'll be good.
Okay, that's really nice. Okay, thank you so much everyone for watching. If you have more questions, please do write your questions and leave your questions in the comments, and we will get back to you with the answers. There are two streams, the Waterfall, Scrum, they have different certifications. PMP, and CAPM was more towards the Waterfall, but now they have issued an Scrum, Agile certifications, the product owner certifications, they are more towards the Agile methodology. We do recognize the Six Sigma projects as the part of the project management as well, which is process improvement and quality control. But the volume 6, what they have issued now, the PMP, the PMI, that includes the Waterfall as well and the Agile, some features and some factors of the agility as well. So it is a very good blend, I would say, the formula to handle any project. So so these are the basic informations which we wanted to share with you guys. If you have more questions, want to know the more clear path, any specific area you want to, because it is a general overview of everything. We were not targeting any specific area, like any specific directions. So but if you want to know more about the Waterfall, Agile, or Six Sigma or other things, and have more questions according to your industry background or your educational background, that you are eligible, you are not eligible, what road map you should take, you can always contact us on info@strain.com. I will leave the email address and the website address in the comments as well. And if you want Hasan to join us again with your specific questions, we can always pull him back here. Thank you so much, Hasan, for joining in. It was a very good discussion. Thank you so much for sharing all your experience. And the thing, what I'm amazed is that I hear about it, and I have taught people from many industries. But what I feel that the talent is that, you know, there was a time when people used to take 20 years, 25 years, or 35 years to become a manager or a director or so. But nowadays, you must be seeing that they are very young age professionals, and you are seeing them on a very big designations. So food for thought for everyone, that try to do not just get impressed with the profiles and everything. Just see if you really like someone's profile, see that how quickly and what was the steps they took right, what did they did right to reach there where they are, right? So it is very important to understand if those few people have this eligibility to shrink the time for themselves, that they didn't took 50 years to be there where they are. Because I know Hasan's age, I'm not sharing it right now. He's very young, and there are many project managers. I know that they are working under his supervision. So this is the key area, right? That, you know, how you can shrink that time. This is not the time when you need it. It is a very fast-paced time, and you can grow. You can just work along with those lines, and you can grow in your career very quickly. You do not need to wait for next 30, 40, and 50 years, and in 80s, in your 70s, you will become a director or the CEO of an organization. You can do it on very young age as well. So we are seeing very young project managers. We are seeing very young portfolio and program managers, and young people and professionals on a very higher designations. So this all is possible. Just take your first step. Do find out the roadmap, and LinkedIn is a very good tool. I would say that, you know, if you want to reach at any point and you are targeting any career, do find the people with those profiles. Do study their profiles and see that what were there, and you will see that, you know, they all have started from a very beginning and initial positions, but some might have jumped their careers. You will see big jumps, that from within 5 years they were the program managers, within 3 years they were the directors or so, and some people took 25 to 20 years, right? So you need to look through the profiles, and you need to see that, you know, how and they were able to shrink the time, how very smoothly they were able to you know, control their circumstances and jump all those ladders. So that will be a key area, and you'll be able to see that, you know, what qualifications they gained during their career journey or their career path, and they were able to achieve all those success areas where they are now. So yeah. and LinkedIn, I always highly recommend to everyone that please do make your LinkedIn profile. If you do not have, we are very willing to teach you that. Do leave a comment and we will see that, how many people want to learn how to make a LinkedIn profile and how to optimize it. It will help you in connecting with more professionals. Today was the discussion about the project management, but I cannot... when it is about professionalism, I highly recommend and I really like to emphasize on the importance of the LinkedIn profile. Thank you very much, Hasan, for joining in. We will hopefully, if you will have more questions and audience will want, we will pull you again for further discussion on any specific area.
My absolute pleasure. And thank you so much for the kind words. I will send you my check very soon. But yes, I think one of my mentors, and I want to close with that, he advised me very early in my career. He said that work hard, but work smart. So there's a difference between two. And maybe one day we'll have a session to dig a little bit about work hard versus work smart. But at the end of the day, you have to put the hard yard in, and you have to be brave. I think a lot of people choose not to be brave. They like the comfort zone. But if you're ambitious, then you've got to be ambitious. Then you've got to be brave with it. But thank you again. Absolutely delighted to be part of this, and look forward to maybe having more sessions in the future.
Thank you, inshallah. Okay, so yes, this is the very key point, I would say. Work hard. It should be a combination of work hard and work smart, because yes, and this is why I think Hasan pretty much summarized what the whole debate I did in one sentence. So thank you so much for doing that. Yes, so this is the smart skill that you can shrink the time and you can take big jumps just by taking some steps, right? So thank you very much for joining in. All the viewers who are watching and who are joining the discussion today, do leave your comments and questions and we'll get back to you. Thank you, Hasan.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care, everyone. Bye.